G'day guys. Things still heating up out there, and I just wanted to put a quick video together because I'm getting a lot of questions around a particular topic. Just before getting there, for anybody that doesn't know the group Citizens of Freedom, that's the group that I'm working with. I'm now managing the group, and a bit about my background. I've been all over this New World Order scam since probably about 20 years now. And for me, I've just always carried on life as per usual. Had a great job earning reasonably good money, pretty happy with life, and suddenly we had COVID come in. Now, for me, the minute I heard the word COVID, I was pretty much aware that this was it. They're going for the big one. This is the big one. Okay, guys. So for me, that's was my wake-up call, and I started taking steps immediately to put myself and loved ones in a good position for what's coming. And so far, we haven't been wrong. Pretty much everything, and it's just like a lot of the guys out there who understand who's behind it and what's going on. It wasn't hard to predict every step to where we are today. And so the conspiracy theorists, such as ourselves, have been right all the way down the line. Now this is where we are at now, guys. So just wanted to give you a bit of backdrop on myself and a little bit about Citizens of Freedom. Now, we are an organization, a lot more than just a Facebook group or any kind of social media group. We are organized. We have teams. We have action plans in place. We are already working on the action plans. The action plans are created strategically, so we're not just fumbling around, running around angry. Of course, we are upset, which is, like most people out there, but it's about using the energy constructively and thinking as we go. So, obviously the concerns that we share, our organization, Citizens of Freedom, the same concerns that most people have out there. Even the normal guys out there share these concerns now. So obviously, number one, we've got this whole issue around COVID, and there's some big question marks around the validity of the pandemic. Is it a genuine pandemic or not? There's a lot of facts pointing towards the answer being no. So we can look at the PCR test and its appropriate nature to be used in identifying a virus, and from what we can see, it is not an appropriate test. It is a fraudulent test. These are questions that need to be answered. They need to be answered from above. Now, the second, smoking gun is clearly the death rates around the world, which are no different according to government data, which again doesn't point to, well, they are slightly different in some countries, slight variations up or down, but more or less in line with every single year in the last decade. So would not indicate a deadly pandemic. There's a whole range of evidence out there, but that's the number one concern. And obviously stemming from that comes the issue around the civil rights that are being taken away, etc. Now, there's a whole range of civil rights. We can look at the lockdowns, the impact on people economically, the right to work, the right to travel. Then we've got issues around the masks, and now we've got these tests that have become mandatory. So we've got so many concerns around civil rights, and the next major concern would be the vaccination program and the mandatory nature of it. And even more concerning is the trickery around the government's approach to making it mandatory and essentially using trickery. There's no other way to say it. They're making it as mandatory as possible. And now this is tying into the first concern. Obviously if those questions raised around the validity of the pandemic weren't there, then the questions around the vaccine wouldn't be so concerning. So if the beginning stinks, the rest stinks, including the lockdowns, including all of the rules put in place. Okay, all of it needs to be questioned if the beginning stinks. It's that simple. Now, even if we looked at aged care deaths in Australia or any other country, there's no difference. Exactly the same, if not a slight variation. And I'll challenge anyone to prove me wrong on that, because those are facts. Prove me wrong on that. It's government data indicating that. So if we look at those three concerns there, now they tie into a few other concerns, which obviously then we have to start questioning what is happening with democracy. Democracy meaning government for the people, by the people. Is the government still acting in the people's best interest? And that is a huge question. And from what we can see, it does not look like that's the case. Now that is a major question that needs to be really answered. And leading from that, then obviously we can see some more concerning things coming out. We've got World Economic Forum talking about the Great Reset, and when we look into that, it is on their website talking about things like people will own nothing by 2030. Okay, and they'll be happy. That's what they're saying. It's on their website. We can also look at other things from the World Economic Forum. Now, World Economic Forum isn't just some random website. This is a major policy setter. Okay, they set financial policy across the globe. But they want to do more than that. They want to set social policy now. Okay, now they also have another concerning item there, which is their new model, their new financial model, which they're calling stakeholder capitalism. That's on the website there, guys. And the brief explanation is that the stakeholders will govern the companies, and the stakeholder, they explain, is the public, and the public is the government. Okay, so it is essentially communism, again using extremely good trickery. That's what stakeholder capitalism means. So our good friend Klaus Schwab, good old Klaus Schwab, is a nice big fat liar. Okay, coming out and using trickery, using words to confuse people. Okay, going on from there, we've got a few other. The other major concerning one is some of the articles from World Economic Forum where they are talking outright that, hey, the future, the government will be able to read your mind, your thoughts, your dreams, pretty much everything. Okay, now how are they going to do that? We've got to work that out. It's not hard to work out. There's only one way they could ever do that, and that is if we were connected to the internet. Okay, surprise, surprise, they've got Elon Musk working on his, what's his little scheme called there, Neuralink. Okay, I'm just going off memory here, guys. Nothing's written down, so you're going to have to excuse all the ums and ahs in between, because we're trying to use the good old brain to remember all of these. There's nothing written down. Now, like I said, I just had a spur of the moment, felt the need to put this video out there, and I'll explain why at the end of this. Now, so we've got Elon Musk with his little Neuralink plans. We've got 5G suddenly going up in secret, the greatest initiative out there, and we've got 20,000 satellites, I think, going up to beam 5G down on the entire Earth, also very quietly, which is also very concerning. You would think that is one of the greatest technological advancements. It would be major news everywhere, and it would be, on your TV every day. Very quiet, and that has the whole 5G rollout's been super quiet if you think back to all the other mobile internet rollouts. And then you mix it in with good old Elon Musk technology, and you look at World Economic Forum talking about this is the future they foresee. Okay, so communism, essentially, that's the last concern we've got there. Okay, that we're looking at a communist tyranny, a dictatorship. Okay, now even the fact that World Economic Forum is saying we're going to do all these things, we're creating a new system, well, that's not democracy already. Okay, it should be going to the people. People should have a look at it, should have a say in it. That's called democracy. We're not seeing democracy. The level of censorship is probably another major issue. So we've all got these issues we're all concerned about. So I just wanted to put the backdrop there. Now this is what we're about. Citizens of Freedom is about this. Now one thing I will say about us is we are very different. We are strategic based. We're about thinking, about brainstorming, about playing chess, because that's what we are actually in. Okay, we're not out there behaving reactively. Okay, so we're sitting down, we have a lot of team meetings, we've got a leadership team, we talk, we brainstorm, we look ahead. Every step we take in our action plan, or every move that our organization makes, we look around 360 degrees to see what are the consequences, what are the reactions from the other side, what is the reaction going to be if we do this, what's happening next. Okay, that's how we need to be thinking, all of us. Okay, so that's the message I've been putting out. We must be strategic because they are. Okay, they want us to be reactive. That way they can easily play us into the corner that they want to put us in. So that's the easiest way to deal with people, is if you understand how they're going to behave, it's very easy to manipulate them into the corner that you want them in. Okay, now we're not dealing with something simple here. This is the most, we've never seen anything like it in history. Now this is the most complex problem I think that the people of this world have ever faced, and so it amazes me. I can understand why, but it does amaze me that people are still quite reactive, quite emotional based reactions. I understand why again, but we can't really be doing that. So this is one of the things our group is trying to do. We need to be organized, we need to be strategic in what we do. So we need to think, we really got to think, if we take this step, what's the risks, what are the opportunities, what are the threats, what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. Okay, so I'll give the analogy of playing a sport. You play a sport and you go, you've got a match coming up. Now if you don't have a game plan, and if your coach hasn't assessed the other side's game plan, the other side's strengths, their weaknesses, you are not very likely going to win that match no matter how good your team is. Okay, anybody that's played any sports at all would understand you have a game plan. Okay, the game plan can change, you need to be flexible, but you need a game plan, you need to be strategic. Okay, that goes for pretty much all sports. Now if you look at a war, it's the same thing, or any battle. Okay, people don't just run into battle. Alright, that's the best way to lose a team sport or a battle. Okay, in the military they don't just run in for a battle. That's just not how things are done. Some people might, and those are the ones that lose. Okay, so for me, I'm about trying to win here, and the other thing we're trying to do is get everyone united together under strategy. Okay, so not arguing about semantics anymore, small things that don't really matter, putting aside the small differences. Okay, and our group has a chart of values, and that's all we care about. If people believe in our values, we welcome them in. If people have good ideas, we welcome them in. If people don't want to think or look ahead, well, we just let them do what they want to do. Okay, but we're not going to work with it. So really, in order to understand, I guess, strategy, and I will be going somewhere with this, guys, because I'm pretty concerned about some of the things happening out there at the moment. So we have to understand who, what, why, and how. Okay, who's behind it? What's their objectives? Why are they doing this, and how do they operate? Okay, You need to start with that. We need to start with that. Okay, if we don't understand that, we can't win. It's that simple. Now, who's behind it? Okay, so this is a tough question, but I'm going to just put it straight out, plain and simple. The conspiracy is sitting right in front of our faces. Okay, I think we've had some of the big name conspiracy theorists out there put it out there. It's really simple. Okay, you just go and look at who owns the Fed Reserve. Okay, it's really that simple. Who owns the Reserve Bank of Australia? Who owns the Bank of England? These are the central banks. Now, most people actually believe the central banks are publicly owned, which they're not. Okay, so the conspiracy is sitting right in front of our eyes. Okay, whoever controls the money system, very simply controls everything under it. And that's as simple as the conspiracy works. A lot of people say, oh, how could the whole world be under conspiracy? It's so simple. People want to get paid, and they do what they need to do for their job. It's really that simple. Okay, so the guys at the bottom, they don't really know what's happening. They basically just want to get their paycheck. When you go to the very bottom, we're talking about people like working in medical associations at the bottom, things like that. They have no idea. They're just getting their paycheck. Military, police, etc. They're just getting their paycheck. Okay, and as you go up, the knowledge gets more and more available to those at the higher end. So a lot of people right now are really looking at people like Bill Gates and Soros, guys like that. Now these guys are just henchmen in the middle. They're not the main guys. Okay, they're just doing their job as well. Okay, when we look at people like our government, it's pretty clear they're not working for us anymore. And that could be a problem that I just said that, but hey, that will tell me whether we live in a democracy or not. Yeah, so I don't think we do anymore. Now, what I will say is even these people are taking orders from above. That's how it simply works. And if they're not doing what needs to be done, they won't be there, one way or another. Okay, now there's been, I think, 4 assassinations of United States presidents in the course of history. All 4 oppose the Fed Reserve. Now, if you look at the history of the Fed Reserve, it's come in and out several times. The founding fathers of the United States, their whole goal was to set up a free country, and they knew about the enslaving central banking system, and that was one of the key missions, was to keep that kind of banking system out. Now, money itself is not evil. It's a means of transactions, making transactions happen. It's how the money system works which makes it evil or good. Okay, so the problem we have now is the monetary system works in a way that every time a dollar is created, there's more debt. So you can never, it's perpetual debt. So it's an enslavement. So it's absolutely ridiculous. You can never get rid of your debt. So it's been set up, so it's a perpetual debt system that never stops. That's the real problem. Money's not the problem. Okay, so it's simply a mode of trade. Okay, can go into the whole history of money, maybe on another video. I want to keep this one a little bit short. So who's behind it? There we go. Now we're starting to understand who's behind it. Okay, so when we look at Bill Gates and Soros and all those other guys and Fauci, these guys are just small fries, okay, compared to the guys at the top. Yeah, a lot of people know this already. Some people don't, and even the people that know it, they seem to be forgetting it for some reason when it comes to their strategy. And so this is why I'm really focusing on it, because you need to know who's behind it, how they operate, then you can formulate your strategy. Hopefully that makes some sense. So if we look who's behind it, we've got these central banks. Who's behind the central banks? You can break that down to a couple of families. Okay, we've got families like the Rockefellers, we've got the Rothschilds, and there's a couple more. Okay, so I don't really go into any more than that, but it is a central bank cartel. Okay, it's a bunch of families who are controlling all of the money supply throughout the entire world. Okay, it's pretty interesting. After Iraq and Afghanistan, I think there was probably still 11 countries without a central bank, and that dropped down to 3. And then we had also, so Iraq fell, and central bank came in there. Afghanistan didn't have one, I think, and neither did what's that country? Gaddafi's Libya. Okay, they didn't have one. They have one now. Pretty interesting. So this is how they work. They move towards establishing their goal. Okay. Now, another really interesting one, and this is just a side note. I watch the news to see what these maggots are up to every night. And last night I saw a little note that the new Italian Prime Minister is the I think it was one of the ex-presidents of the World Bank or something like that. Conflict of interest. Okay, now that kind of tells you again, and it's so important to understand who's behind it. Okay, so these families have set this up over the last couple of 100 years. If not, you can go back. You can see references to the money men in the Bible. Okay, now I'm not religious or anything. Some people are, and that's great. I don't really go there, but there are references in the Bible to the money men that Jesus was trying to stop this from happening 2,000 years ago. Christianity had actually outlawed usury, which is lending, credit, lending for interest. Okay, a lot of people know about Muslims have outlawed that, and some, I think it's still outlawed there. But early Christianity had outlawed it as well, because they knew the dangers of the enslavement trap that these guys were setting up. Okay, now they don't even have the money, and that's the most sickest part. The reserve system is completely fraudulent now. It started out okay. It was very simple. Here's my gold, please hold on to that, Mr. Goldsmith. No problem. Here's your promissory note. Okay. Now that was alright. That's how it all started. That's your first cash notes. Okay, and that's how the reserve system started. Now these people became the banks later, and they started giving people promissory notes so they could just hang on to the gold for them, and they could come and get it back when they needed it. People start trading the promissory notes, etc. And yeah, we're going into a bit of the history of money, but I guess it's important. So they then, from that point, had approached governments, and this is where the corruption started. Let's stimulate things, let's stimulate the economy. No problem, let's drop it down to a 90% reserve in case someone comes back for their gold. Okay, we've got a 90% reserve, no one's coming still. Hey, let's stimulate the economy more. So that reserve system, that's the fractional reserve system, drops from 90 to 80, etc. It's supposed to be 10% reserve. Okay, guys? Guaranteed, there's no 10% reserve. Guaranteed. Okay, money is just now a little bleep that you create electronically. It's just fake. It's in your head. It is the absolute biggest fraud over mankind. So they don't even own it, and that's why that's where I was. Early Christianity had outlawed this practice of lending for interest. Now they were infiltrated as well eventually. Okay, and then the churches started changing and started allowing more and more things, and they were completely infiltrated eventually. So these guys have got sub-organizations, and they are out there pretty much infiltrating just about every sphere that they can get into. So this is who's behind it. You've got these big guys at the top. They run the money, they own the money, and they own everything underneath. It's very easy if you have all the money. And they have plenty of organizations underneath them in just about every country and across the globe. So then we've got organizations like the United Nations was set up by these people. Okay, so the League of Nations. Now World War I and II was also a really good setup to get to where they needed to get to, and that was their 100-year plan. And this is where we're at now. We're at the end of that 100-year plan. Okay, so what's the plan? Is to establish one world government, new world order, which is effectively a totalitarian state. So I don't have a problem with one world government. I know some people still do. I don't have a problem as long as it's a good one that's really there for the interests of the people. I'm not saying we have to have one, but I think ultimately, it might go that way. You look at how nation states form cities, and then eventually you have countries. Okay, that's just, you look back at history, it's a natural progression of things getting wider, but it should be a good one. It should be there for the people, for the people's best interests. Anyway, backtracking. So you look at World War One. You can. This is documented. Okay, most people know this. Both sides are funded by the same people. Okay, in politics, left and right, and we're so divided. Okay, and I'm going to talk about how they work in a minute. Left and right, they fund both sides. Okay, they funded the Bolsheviks in the Russian Communist Revolution in the 19 teens, I think it was. 65 odd million killed. Okay, funded by these guys, central banks. They funded England, the United States in World War One, and they funded the other sides as well. Okay, World War Two was even worse. Actually, World War One was probably one of the last real wars where it was real ideology, because I think Germany at that time was still free of the central banks, and they were still trying to steer clear of them. Same with the Turks or the Ottomans at the time, no central banks, and that was about getting the oil. Okay, it was all about getting in there. Petroleum had just become a thing, and that was a big part of everything that happened in World War One, as well as advancing the central bank reach. So at that point, they only had Europe. You know, most of the Western European countries had their central banks in already. So Germany, I think, was still holding out. It was one of the only countries in Europe that was holding out. Okay, not 100% on that, but after World War One, Germany had a central bank. All the other countries started having central banks. You know what? I'm not 100% on those particular facts. So someone else check it. Throw it in the comments. Like I said, I'm just running off my head here. I don't have anything in front of me. I do have a couple of websites that I will refer to later. Now, World War One saw the League of Nations set up, and World War Two saw the United Nations set up. So this is the structure. Okay, we've got some big organizations underneath these people. Then we have World Health Organization, etc., International Monetary Fund, World Bank, etc. These are all set up under this structure, and then they have their more secretive organizations that one of them is the Council of Foreign Relations in the United States, which is, again, it's not government. A lot of people think it's a government body. It's not government. Okay, it's a private organization. It's a secretive one as well, and they set a lot of policies on things that are happening throughout the world. Okay, and then you can go under, and they've now infiltrated just about every area that you can get into. Okay, and sometimes the people don't even know who they're working for. They're just working for someone. So what are their objectives? As I mentioned, it's very simple. They would like to have one world government, new world order, and you can see it quite clearly on the Great Reset. It is communistic in nature. It is limiting your freedoms, because you and I apparently we can't be trusted to do the right things. And I love that I just can't believe people can't pick up on the communist nature of do the right thing for the greater good over and over. Okay, that's communism 101. Okay, so that is their game plan. It's communism 101, which is set up throughout the world. And you know, the thing is that the average person out there can't see it because it happens slow. Okay, now it's not going to happen boom like that. They're smart this time. They're not coming in with an army. They're coming into your minds. They're going to create the events over the next 9 years to 2030 that people will ask for it. Okay, right now we've got social housing, one of the big buzzwords. There's quite a lot of big buzzwords. The equality movement is also part of the agenda. Using people's emotions is part of the agenda for, I guess, empathy and things like that, which are good things. It's just they're being manipulated. Okay, so that is their objective. The evidence is there. Okay, we can see it already with the Great Reset. That's not democratic. There's elements of communism there, and then we've got do the right thing. Okay, this whole mask thing, all of it is geared at compliance and getting people conditioned to comply. That's what it's about. Okay, and getting people to do the right thing. okay, over and over with no evidence. Okay, so how do they work? Okay, I should have put some dot points for this, but the first thing they do is division. Okay, division. And so this is why I'm calling for people to start seeing things clearly, put aside some of the small differences, because division is their game. And like I said, they like to create duality. Okay, look at politics. You got left or right. Okay, you have to be left or you have to be right. Why? Because that's just how it works, apparently. Now, when you look at the true nature of human beings, we are neither actually left or right. Okay, now don't get pissed off, guys. I don't believe in socialism and communism in any way, and I will die before I let that happen in this country. Not a chance, and I mean that. Now, but what I will say is, we've been fooled into believing that you must be this or you must be that, and I will put a video out to the guys later on who are socialist minded, and explain how that has been working for them in terms of using them and conditioning them the way they need to be used in this little chess match that they've got. And when you really start understanding the complexities of this chess match that they've set up, you then really start to understand why we must be strategic. Okay, and hopefully I can explain a little bit on this video. This is going to be a short one. I always say that it ends up longer. However, I will put a full one together to explain more of the complexities, and anyone can fact check me. And if I'm wrong on something, I'm cool with that. Okay, if I'm wrong on something, if it's something major, I probably would like to be on point with those ones. Some of the small facts I might be slightly off. Okay, now if you look at again the nature of human beings, all of our emotions are put there by evolution, or whatever you want to call it. If you're religious, God, the universe. If you're spiritual, if you're scientific, you might call it evolution. Okay, evolution's created empathy, anger, aggression, all of it for a reason. It's for survival, and it's one of the reasons that humans have been so successful. It's through empathy, it's through having aggression when required, it's through having anger when required, it's through having fear, it's through having fight or flight. All of it is in there for a reason. And where I'm going with this is, some of the principles that the left side use are actually natural to human nature. To give you an example, the idea of empathy and not letting people fall behind is one of the key success factors of human beings. So we wouldn't leave someone behind because that person had a contribution. Nature's way of enabling us to do that was the emotion of empathy. So we saw someone down when we were migrating. We didn't just go, forget about good old Mikey over there, because Mikey, we didn't think like that. We just felt sorry for Mikey and we picked him up. But Mikey might have been the guy that built the huts. And this is one of the reasons humans were so successful, combined with our competitive spirit as well. So this is where they've actually created this incorrect division, because competition is also well and truly part of human nature and our success factor. So if you look at, I'll give you guys an analogy. You take two fishermen, you put them down by the river, okay, and one of the fishermen is extremely intelligent and extremely driven, okay, and the other guy is not. Maybe he's just not as intelligent, he's not as driven. Now the first guy, he's out there in the morning and he's studying the river patterns, understanding the fish's behaviors, okay, he's going to catch more fish. That's nature at work, okay. Nature doesn't believe in equal outcomes, okay. Old mate will catch more fish. That's just the way life is, okay. So he comes home and he's got, say, 20 fish. The old mate over there has 2. He's not so good. 2 fish, he can't feed his family. So the other guy, he's got his 20 fish. Now he might say, hey, old mate over there, Jack is the guy who, I don't know, what does Jack do? Maybe he is really good with the looking after of the chickens. Okay, there's no chickens at the moment. They need to do a trade with the fish. So He can't let Jack die, so he might say, hey Jack, here's 2 fish, and that's the beginning of social programs. Okay, so social programs to give people a fair, what do you call it, so they can't fall behind. Okay, so we, in this country, we had that running quite well in the 1990s. We had a good balance of competition, as well as social programs, social welfare and things like that. Now if you outbalance it, you're outbalancing the human spirit, essentially, because we're both. Now, bit off track again, but that's division. That's how it works. So they can go along the lines of race, they can go along the lines of religion, etc., ideology, all of those things. What else do they do? Trickery, deception. Okay, and this is the key one that I really want to focus on. Like I said, every United States president from the last 100 years, if they didn't want them there, they wouldn't be there. John F. Kennedy was one of the presidents who called out, famous speech. If anybody wants to go look for it on YouTube, I can't quote his words exactly, but he essentially said that there was a secret society with plans to put a tyrannical system across the world, just before he got shot. Okay, and I don't know if you guys still believe that what's his name, Oswald or whatever his name was, made that sharpshooting shot with the car moving. You have to be pretty good. But Lee Harvey Oswald, that's right, he made that shot. Wow. Okay, I believe that one. Conspiracy theorists, yeah. Well, to believe that, you just have to believe that some of the most unlikely shit just coincidentally happened. So this guy just somehow makes this amazing shot on a moving car. Okay, anyway, so yeah, JFK was shot right after he made that speech. Okay, so that's something to really keep in mind. So if they don't want them there, they won't be there. Okay, now trickery and deception is a major element of what they do. They want to throw people off path, they want to lead people into traps. Okay, they want to use deception and trickery, and we have to be thinking. Again, this is what I'm saying, every move you've got to be thinking. Okay, my background's recruitment and employment and business, and in that area in business you have to be thinking. So it's the same, it's chess. What's that move? What are their moves? Whenever I sit down and I sit to meet with anyone, I want to get into their head. What are their objectives? What do they want? This is sales 101, and then you try to meet them in the middle of the negotiating. So you have to be getting in their head though. So this is how they work. Okay, trickery, deception. Now the next one is chaos. Okay, they want to create absolute chaos, so people get so confused. Confusion and chaos. Alright, when people are confused and under chaos, their cognitive abilities start going down, and it is much easier to manipulate them. And that's what's happening right now. Okay, you just turn on the news and it is absolutely chaos unless you can understand how to read between the lines, and read the news properly for what it is. But there's absolute chaos going on out there, and so many people just don't know what to believe. Just think about the things being thrown out there: CCP, Russia, BLM, Antifa, Trump, QAnon, blah blah blah. You can keep going on and on. People are confused. Okay, that's what they want to do. Okay, meanwhile they keep moving, and they've been doing it the whole time. We've been arguing about gay marriage and abortion, etc., blah blah blah, and they keep rolling. Okay, quietly in the background while everyone's out here confused and arguing. This is how it is, and they keep moving along. Okay, so it's super important to understand how they work. So just want to talk about, I guess, one of the things, and you guys are going to get probably quite alarmed, and maybe you might hate me after this. But what I'm looking at here, when we set up our strategies, we have taken into account all of those things, and what are they doing, what are the tools that they're going to be using. Okay, so we can see what they're doing. Okay, they have the media under full control. They're using the media to paint the picture. There's a good old story: if you say a lie over and over, it becomes the truth. History is written by the victors. Most of history isn't actually how it happened, it's written by the victors. So I'm a history buff. I love watching history, and I've always done so from my teenage years. And then I stumbled across all of this stuff around about the Iraq War, 9/11 time. I've always been someone that thinks and questions, and that's when I started looking at things, and it just didn't add up for me. And I started questioning everything then, and started really reading about history and understanding what's really going on. So, that's I guess one of the tools they're using. They can turn the lies into truth because they own the media. So we need to be thinking about that, and you'll get this with where I'm going. Okay, now they have infiltrated government already. Okay, it's been a war of the mind, a war of ideologies. Okay, now anyone who's sitting there is probably no government right now in the whole world that is opposing this. Maybe a couple in the smaller third world countries, some of the African countries. None of the major Western nations have anybody there anymore. Now in this country, I remember when COVID started off, there were resignations galore. Okay, they were forced resignations. People were basically hit with accusations of fraud from the ABC. I don't know what the ABC has to do with it. When did they become the national investigators or police? But ABC hit them up with some accusations of fraud, and they were asked to stand down or face the accusations. Okay, they probably opposed the New World Order and the COVID scam that's being run out now. Now, if you look at all the faces that you see on TV now, they're all new, all of them. Okay, you look at the police spokespeople. Look at all these health people. They're all new people. Okay, they're all put in there. And if you look really closely, you can see how communist they look. I just can't believe people can't turn on the TV and just see the socialists or the communists sitting right in front of us, repeating the communist slogans over and over and drilling it into our heads. Anyway, they've pretty much infiltrated just about every spot there is. Okay, because they have a plan. Again, I'm going to say they're not just aimlessly running around. They have an intricate plan that have thousands of heads sitting in a room thinking about how they can move, and believe it or not, they're thinking about you and me and what we're going to do. Okay, so this is where I'm going to go with this next one. Now these guys will be so like I said, they've infiltrated pretty much every corner in order to make this work. Okay, so so that's something to really understand. Okay, now they know what their plan is, and they've flushed out the system. Okay, anyone who's going to be a problem, it's time to go. We'll get some dirt on them, and it's time to go, one way or another. Now, I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, there was an American senator. I can't remember his name. Let me see if I can pull it up. He was one of the rare few to call it out, and he was character assassinated like you wouldn't believe it, and he was gone. Okay, anybody that's been in the way has been removed. Okay, now these tactics, you will remember, you would have seen it in some of the recent left movements. Just remove anyone who's against the rhetoric. Okay, guys. Now, I shouldn't have said that. I don't want to create division, but it's important anyway for people on the left to understand how they're being manipulated as well. We're all being manipulated, right and left, both. Okay. At the end of the day, that's how every war was created. It's really important to remember that. Now, so again, when we talk about who's behind it, and we hear people talking about the CCP, it's the CCP. Well, guess what? The CCP has a central bank. They answer to them as well. Okay, Mao Zedong, the founder of communist China today, guess who funded him? Yep, the central banks. Okay, so they are all answering to the same person. Hitler, guess who funded him? Central banks. So what they do is they create an enemy. Now again, we're talking about their tactics. This is what they do. They create enemies. Okay, they'll create an enemy. We look at Osama bin Laden, world's most wanted terrorist, and he was cremated on the spot because they cared about his religious beliefs. Okay, I believe that one. They cared about his religious beliefs. They got the world's most wanted terrorist. Um, that was apparently riding donkeys in the mountain, and they cremated him on the spot and threw him out to sea. Well, I think they brought him back in a bottle or something. But yeah, that's because. But they cared about his religion so much, but not about the guys in Guantanamo Bay. They had him in chains, in cages, and they had dogs set on them. But I don't know. Somehow they cared about the religion that much. So yeah, that's what they do. They create the enemies. Okay, and they have us chasing the enemies and have us again occupied and our attentions all over this one thing. Okay, that's what they want. Okay? They use our emotions, and this is why I'm saying to everyone, you must be aware of your emotions and how they are being manipulated. Now, at the beginning of last year, I said to everyone, we're going to war with China, and people were like, nah, we won't be. And I said, we will be. That's the plan. Okay, that's the plan. And again, like I said, CCP, they have a central bank. Okay, Mao Zedong was funded by the central banks. Communist China was their prototype. Okay, so Chinese people are just like you and me. They're just suckers trying to get by. And these guys are using a new enemy. Okay, they're creating the new enemy. It could be part of the new plan to have the final war at the end of it all. And then boom, there we go. We've got the new world order. I said to people, Russia will be part of that new enemy. Okay, and it took them a bit longer to get that one going, but they have it going now. If you watch the news, all you hear is bad stuff about Russia now. Putin this, Putin that. Look at this new great guy who's come back. He's the opposition leader. He's the face of freedom and democracy, etc. I don't know how easy it is to manipulate people. 3 years ago, everyone loved China and Russia. But then you were told that you hate China and Russia now, and you hate China and Russia. That's how easy it was. You guys hate China and Russia now, and now we all hate China and Russia. That's how easy it was. Okay, but just remember that they both have central banks. Okay, at the beginning of this, I was a bit confused. I thought maybe, I shouldn't say confused, I had a little bit of doubt as to whether Putin was one of the good ones. But then you go look, they got a central bank. Okay. It's really that simple. So when you understand that, again, so they create the enemies. Okay, they've created every enemy in just about every area you can look in. Okay, some of them are real, some of them are fake enemies, just imaginations, just like COVID. Right, the enemy, that's the enemy. It's the fake enemy. So you really got to understand that. Now that goes in with the trickery. Okay, so this is what we have to be thinking about, the confusion, but you've got to understand who they are. You just go back to who they are, and then you understand how they work. Now, where I'm going with this, okay, they have pretty much bought the system, and they own the system. They've created the system. It's their system. Okay, so this is their system, guys. Okay, whether it's in the legal side of things, whether it's in the political side of things, the economic side of things, it is their system, and they've put in place the structures and the people that they need. So when we talk about the structures, you can look at the Biosecurity Act. Came in 2015 in this country. Every country around the world magically around that time happened to put in similar legislation. Okay, another major coincidence. And then obviously in Australia we had the states put in their legislation. I think it's 1 or 2 years right after that. Okay, so now the Biosecurity Act doesn't protect us. Okay, and I don't want to. I'm willing to argue or debate with anyone on that, but I've read through it. It doesn't protect us. Okay, neither do any of the state health biosecurity health legislations. They're geared for COVID, and they're geared to enable them to be able to put in place mandatory procedures. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on that real quick. They've set up everything already for this. So that's a backdrop to really understand who they are, what they're doing. Now, I spoke about this on the video conference on the weekend, and we had a few people say, well, I don't consent. Okay, you know, I said to them, you know, tell that to a kid in Africa. or a kid in war-torn Afghanistan. Or I had a good friend of mine from Somalia, and he had his arm blown off when he was, I think, 7 years old. Okay, consent is only as good as the power you hold and the authority you hold. Okay, and consent was created by our forefathers who died and put their sweat and blood towards creating the rights and freedoms that we have today, and they are gone. They're being eroded. Okay, so consent is only as good as your power and authority. Now, another example I give you is if you go and you say, I'm going to go rob that store over there, and you say, well, that's someone says that's illegal, and you go, not in my realm. Okay, that's just in your head. Okay, it doesn't matter. The authority is the people with the power. They are the people with the power, and they will decide what's illegal or not. Even if you don't consent to going to jail, you're going to jail. Okay, if you get caught for that robbery, you're going to jail. That's how your consent will work. It's not going to work if they say that that's illegal, or this is legal and that's illegal, etc. Okay, quick note on that one. So just going back a little bit, so we've got their modes of operation. Now they've set up for this. Okay, they've set up the laws, they've set up the structures. Now if you look at Australia, they've done a little bit more, and I think most countries have done similar. They have now created a law that the Australian Defence Force can be used fully operational domestically. Okay, why? Okay, and people are going, oh, so they can help out with bushfires, and they've always done that. They've always done that, so it's got nothing to do with that. Now, what these new laws actually give them the right to do is to search, seize, and detain. Okay, fully operational, without any ramifications, and that's the most concerning part. Now they've already passed these laws. All right. Now I wasn't surprised, and we had a lot of people in this movement out there yelling and screaming, and I'm basically sitting back going, you guys better start getting productive instead of yelling and screaming at these things, because they are going to happen. Okay, you got to do things. You got to start being strategic and start planning ahead. This is happening, whether you like it or not. Okay, the police was armed up just before this as well. The Victorian Police Force all received these nice, beautiful, I think they're semi-automatic rifles. Interesting. Okay, now not only the ADF laws have changed to allow them to be fully operational domestically, we also have new laws where foreign powers, foreign military can operate again without ramifications, fully operational within the country. So just giving you guys a backdrop. Okay, why have they done these things? Okay, I'm just giving you the backdrop to understand what's really going on. So what one of the things we're calling out to people is, it's you guys are awake. I know a lot of people, they're saying, oh, we're awake, we can see what's happening. Now I'm telling you guys, you need to really wake up. Okay, because now you need to really understand who's behind it, how sick these individuals are who are at the top of this chain, and how far they will go. Okay, now they have killed, I'll probably say it's in the billions across the world since they've been in existence, these central bank cartels, okay, to get what they want. They have killed millions, if not billions. Okay, just look at the Russian Revolution. 65 million people were killed. People were eating people. That's how bad it got in Russia. People were eating their own children. Okay, these are sick people. So I just really want people out there to understand what we are dealing with, and to truly wake up now. Okay, now I'm going to go somewhere with this because there is something I'm very concerned about, and I'm going to go somewhere. And I had a chat with one of our members today, and I'll talk about that chat I had with this lovely member of ours. So this is the backdrop. You got to understand these people. They've set themselves up for this. Okay, they've put everything in place to have what we have happening today. Okay, now don't forget Scott Morrison. He's come out and he said, so people concerned about the mandatory vaccine, Morrison has come out and he said, okay, so the question was raised, there might be backlash. Morrison's answer, I'm prepared for, we know there may be backlash and I'm prepared for that. Yeah? Okay. There's a small backdrop, okay? It's just so you really understand what's happening. Now, Morrison can't stop anyway, okay? He's going to be in big trouble if he stops. Okay, he's not making the calls. There are other people making these calls. And good old look at Dumbo Morrison. Do you think he can make these calls? No, no chance. Okay, he's not making these calls, and he's just the dummy. He's the mouthpiece. Now, just remember that Morrison has said we are prepared for backlash. Okay, keep that in mind when you think about the ADF laws that have been changed. Okay, now let's talk about some of the traps, and this is what they do as well. They work with traps. Now, if we look at the vaccine trap, okay, I'm going to be very brief on this because I want to talk about the bigger trap that's coming up. Vaccine trap is very simple, and if you look at their process, every stage of this COVID program, it is running such as we have sorry guys, I just got a little distracted. It basically starts out voluntary with a marketing jingle to fool the easily fooled into that particular thing, and then it goes to coercion. Okay, coercion. The coercion starts small and then it increases, okay, until you can't really move, and then you give into that particular thing ultimately, and then it becomes law or mandated, okay, their law, okay, and I know the common law guys will say that's not, blah blah blah, and I agree with you guys, but again, we'll talk about that. I'll talk about that, that essentially, again, you need to have the authority, and authority comes from power, and power comes from united numbers. Okay, so common law is a beautiful thing, and I think it's the ultimate solution down the end of the track, but you need a mode to make the change to get there, and the mode has to have the authority. You can't just say this is a concept and it's real. It's not real until you have the tangible authority and power behind that to make it real. Okay, now just want to really reiterate, our group stands for absolute pure democracy and freedom, and common law is a big part of that. Okay, and also I guess the way we look at our political system, it could be structured in a lot better way, to allow for genuine democracy and not what we have right now. And they'll use that against us, guys. So this is some of the traps that are coming, and I've been telling people this from last year, is that you will see at some point they're going to label everyone who disagrees as a terrorist. Everyone who disagrees with the New World Order will be labeled as a domestic terrorist. Okay, I told everyone that last year in March, and then we got to be thinking strategically in terms of that. And I still get people who don't understand it. Our group name changed. We're now called Citizens of Freedom. I just had someone on Facebook comment saying, "Oh, don't join that group. They call themselves citizens. That's what they want us to be called." That's why we chose it. Okay, we're trying to be strategic. So we're not trying to go and poke the bear. And I'll talk a bit about our strategies coming up. So you've got to understand who they are, what they're doing, and to what extent they've planned for this, and then you can understand that they're not going to stop. Okay, it's very simple. Now, they're not going to just suddenly go, "Oh, the people don't want this. We should stop now." Okay, this is what I'm trying to say to people. It's time to really wake up. Okay, they're not going to just go, "Oh, the guys, they don't want this. We didn't know that." Okay, I mean, seriously. You've got to ask yourself, go and look at the things I mentioned earlier, understand who's behind it, understand how many people they've killed, and then really ask yourself, are they going to just wake up one day and go, "Oh, we didn't realize the people of the world didn't like this new tyrannical dictatorship, communist system, that they have no freedoms, and that we can read their minds and have them controlled fully. We had no idea they wouldn't like it. Now we know we're going to stop." Okay, I'll let you guys answer that one for yourselves. So, You got to understand these people, and then you understand what kind of strategies we need to be running. Now, another one I'll probably put out there is, if you understand it like this, you are up against a massive beast. Okay, we'll use a Bible analogy, David and Goliath. Okay, you look at David, he was going up Goliath. Now we're going up against Goliath times 1,000. So you know how serious it is. Okay, we're not going to even take on a McDonald's corporation that's setting up, and I use that analogy a lot when I'm in chats and things. We're not going up against a McDonald's corporation that has set up in a country town, and the people of the country town don't want them there anymore, and so they come in with enough pickets and signs and protests and make enough noise, and the McDonald's goes, okay guys, we should move on because we're not wanted here. But the real reason they move on is they realize we won't be profitable because the people of this town don't like us. But yeah, we're not facing that. Okay, we're not even facing some issue about abortion or equal rights or whatever it might be. Okay, this is the new world order. Okay, so I really want people to start understanding that. Okay, and really wake up. This is my call out to everyone. This is our call out. We're telling people, guys, you need to start coming to reality. It's a very disturbing reality. Okay, but it's reality. This is the new world order. This is not McDonald's where you can go and just say, hey, please leave us alone. Okay, and they leave. Okay, they've planned for over 100 years for these days that we have coming. Okay, you need to understand that. Okay, they're not going to just walk away. Okay, really need people to understand that. Now I want to go back to the whole poking the bear. Now if you're going hunting, okay, well, go back to David. David didn't go at Goliath and try to punch on with him because Goliath was too big. Okay, he wasn't stupid. He wasn't out there trying to beat his chest to say, look at me, look how tough I am, because he wanted to win. Okay, this is where we're coming from. We want to win. So our tactics are based on that. Our strategy is based on that. Our strategy is not based on our ego, stroking our ego, screaming at the top of our lungs so we feel good. Okay, we might feel good for a few seconds or a few minutes or even a few days, but we won't win. Okay, with those tactics. So yeah, David didn't run out there trying to head on with Goliath. He used his smarts, used his slingshot, bang, in the eye. Okay. If you're going to be trapping a large animal, you're going hunting, and I use the bear analogy, although I like bears, so I feel kind of bad to talk about the bear. But just say you were trying to trap a bear. Okay, you're not going to run up to the bear and try to front up to the bear. Okay, so you can't run up to this Goliath opponent and try to front up to them. I know a lot of people are angry and they want to beat their chest. And, oh, I'm big. I'm the man. I'm strong. Okay, feel my rage. I just want to say one thing. Is it going to meet your objective? What is your objective? And the objective for me is to stop these sick maggots from bringing in this sick tyrannical system. It's that simple. Okay. I'm not here to stroke my ego, and I've said it many times. With our organization, our leadership is very important, and it's all about merit. Okay, it's all about having the right people in the right place that know the right things. So for me, I'm happy to step down anytime. It's not about me. We're trying to actually create a nice leadership council where we can have people that have the right vision and the right understanding and the right smarts that can come in, and we can all work together and collaborate. That's what we're about. We already have a leadership team, and we do a lot of collaboration. Okay, we want lots of ideas. Okay, so I'm out there trying to talk to some of the other groups. Some are listening, some I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't really want to call people out, but I will say this: it is so important that we're not led in the wrong direction, and I know that's happening right now. And people won't back down even when logic's presented to them. and that's a matter of pride and ego, and that's not the right reasons to be here, and that's not the right reasons to be forming a group and trying to lead people somewhere. That's really a poor reason, and that's actually going to be detrimental to the entire movement. And we have one good chance, and if we fail this, we're in big trouble. So yeah, I'm going to call out those out there who are just running on pride and fame and etc. I don't want to be famous, and I said it on our video conference. I'd rather not be doing this, but I just ended up in a position. I joined this group, and there was no one else, so I put my hand up and I said, yeah, I'll front the group, and so here I am. But yeah, if someone else that's better comes, I will step down, because I'd rather we have the right person and we're going in the right direction. Just going back, we're talking about some of the traps. Okay, so this is our strategy. We're going up against a Goliath opponent. I always say as well, I'm not here to poke the bear. Okay, so if we're going to do something, we should do something that's moving towards our objectives. Otherwise, it is unproductive. And at the best, it could be unproductive. At the worst, it could be counterproductive. Okay, so we have to be super careful. Now, poking the bear is no point, right? So I said this to someone. I said, I'll put a mask on, and they got really pissed off at me. I think it's absolutely stupid. Now, in our group, we don't put anything on there. So our number one rule is we don't say, we don't do, and we don't incite anything that is against their laws, against the law right now, okay? Because we don't want to attract the wrong attention. We have our strategic action plan, and we have bigger fish to fry, okay? Another good saying is, you lose a battle sometimes to win the war. So yeah, we're not out here trying to poke the bear for pride, because that's just stupid. So I was down in Brisbane with my partner, and I forgot about it totally. We had to drive in. It was during the lockdown, and we drove in, and I said, oh shit, we've got to put the damn stupid mask on apparently. And she's like, oh yeah. And I said, no, I don't want to do it. And then she reminded me, and she said, but you said to me that it's better to sometimes lose a battle to win the war. And she reminded me of it and said, you said you want to stay under the radar until the right time. And well, obviously now I'm coming quite above the radar and probably get some visits quite soon. But I put the mask on because that's one of the rules we're following. We're not going to break the law. Okay, we're not going to poke the bear, because I'm not going to achieve anything by that. Okay, so I put it on, stupid as it is, because it does absolutely nothing and it's probably unhealthy, but we put it on. Okay, so we're not out there inciting anyone to break any law. So that's something that we really stand by. And the reason, again, is strategic. How many Facebook groups have started and then bang, they're gone, and all that work they've done, and everyone's gone. Okay, so we're not doing that. We're organized. So again, I really want people to start getting real. Okay, you're not dealing even with the police. You're not even dealing with the ADF. You're dealing with the New World Order. Okay, and so you've got to understand that. So you've got to be smarter. I gave another analogy which is totally outside of my field and not really relevant to what we're facing, apparently. Now, if you look at how the Vietnamese won the war, okay, much smaller force against the largest military force in the world, and they used subversive tactics. Okay, they were very much about yes sir, and then they would make their moves quietly when they could make the moves. Okay, so there's no point poking the bear. Now that's something I'm going to say because it is super important. Now, what are the traps? Now, obviously, I just mentioned that. I sort of jumped off track there. So it's voluntary. This is how they work with their program. Voluntary, coerced, mandated, right? And we're moving into the vaccine trap now. So you look at masks, voluntary, coerced, mandated. Okay, that's how it moved. Now from there, we have testing, voluntary, coercive, mandated. Okay, it's becoming mandated. Okay, so some people don't realize it. If you go into some place and they find out you were there through their stupid little tracing teams, they call you and they're not saying what they used to say. It used to be, we recommend that you self-isolate and we recommend you get a test. No more recommend. Now you must stay home and you cannot come out until you provide a negative test result. Okay, so you're at home until you can provide that if you've been somewhere. So they're making it mandatory to get tested, basically. Okay, you can see it happening also inside the quarantine hotels. And there's another one. Okay, people are all pissed off at Daniel Andrews. He's just another puppet. Okay, Daniel Andrews, Scott Morrison, they're all buddies. There's no opposition. Okay, they're all buddies. They're all working for the same guys. All the bungles that Daniel Andrews is doing, they're not by accident. They're part of their strategy to move towards quarantine camps. So a lot of people are angry in Victoria. Oh, how could he make this mistake? Well, it wasn't a mistake. It was part of his role. Okay, bungle it up so that we can convince people we need quarantine facilities outside the city, purpose built, large enough. That's what the plan is. Okay, that's another sidetrack. Can't help it. So going back. Okay, that's how it works, and that's how the trap's coming. Okay, voluntary, coerced, mandated. Now we're moving into the vaccine, and this is the big concern. And so some people are really concerned about it. And there is a theory out there that maybe this isn't the Big Bang vaccine. Okay, because it could be part of their strategy again to get everyone more comfortable with getting vaccinated, and then somewhere down the track comes the Big Bang one. Now, I'm not going to take that chance because, if the beginning stinks, the rest stinks, and the beginning of the virus stinks. The pandemic, absolutely questionable. So, but we are heading into that vaccine trap now. Okay, and they're using the same approach, and people are still trying the same old tactics that didn't work. And so I've been a member of this group for about probably 9 months. They've been around. I was one of the early members. I joined quite early, and I was talking with Uncle Mike to say, can we do more? I want to front the team. I want, everything was done very quietly, and I was probably a good 8 months talking about it, and finally we got the go ahead. So this is where we are now. But I see the other guys out there, and it is very frustrating. It's understandable, and I love the big hearts of anyone in this movement. Everyone out there in this movement, I got to say, I really love the big hearts. All beautiful people out there as part of this movement. But we've got to start getting smarter, guys. And you've got to say, how does that saying go? If you do the same actions, you'll get the same results. Okay, now we've been doing the same actions, which I knew would never work from the very beginning, because I knew who's behind it. Okay, and you go back, you know who's behind it, and you know they have a plan that they've been working on for 100 years, and you know they don't care. Okay, they don't care about you and me and our consent and all of that. They've got bigger plans. Okay, but we still see people out there trying the same old things. Okay, so for me, it's very frustrating. Okay, when we see that. So that is the trap being laid, guys. It is coercion. Coercion's coming. It's already the voluntary marketing campaign's underway for the vaccine. Okay, all the suckers out there are going to go take it, and we're trying to save people from going out there. There is no need to take it. I mean, you think about some of the things they're saying. They lied to people. I've got friends. I've lost a lot of friends over this. Surprising. Some of the guys I thought were really good friends. But for me, I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, are you guys not seeing basic sense anymore? You were told if you don't take the vaccine, you can't return to normal. But they already told us that at the beginning, and they said you need a new normal. We had the Spanish flu. We didn't have a new normal. We just had normal. Anyway, none of it makes any sense. We know that. So anyway, they said, okay, guys, if you take the vaccine, you'll be allowed out. You'll have your freedoms. Now they're saying, no, actually the vaccine probably, we don't know, it's not likely going to stop the spread. Okay, it's not likely going to stop, we don't know its efficacy in terms of fighting the disease. Okay, so all the things we were told we should take the vaccine for, well, they're all washed away now. But aside from that, that's the marketing campaign. They're running it, and there are people believing it, and they will take it. From there, we're going to go to coercion, starting small. Okay, you can't go out for dinner, go to clubs, bars, cafes, etc. I say they're small. To some people, they're big. I couldn't care less. We've got bigger things, in my opinion, than me going out for dinner. I'm not worried about it. But they are going to impact some people. Okay, so some people at that point might say, "Oh, my social life is killed. Let me take the the vaccine." Okay, and then from there it's going to escalate, and the no job, no jabs. I just saw someone writing about that on Facebook. Again, beautiful people. I love all you guys, all of you truth movement guys out there, but I'm just saying it is time to get real and truly wake up. And my background is recruitment and employment, and I can tell you guys now, I know the law in that area. Occupational health and safety laws is what they're going to use as a guise to bring it in. It's going to become not a right of an employer, but a responsibility under the OH&S legislation. Okay, they will make it happen because they control the system. All right, guys. Now, the occupational health and safety, what they're going to say is that in order for people for all employees to be safe, then everyone has to be vaccinated, because if this guy's not vaccinated, he's a danger to everyone else. This is what they're going to do. So it's not going to be a right, it's going to be a responsibility of all employers. Okay, so it means, and it makes absolutely no sense, because if the vaccine worked, well, the other workers would be safe, right? But we know none of this stuff makes any sense. So that's the guys are going to bring it in. And if you guys don't think that's going to happen, then you still haven't gotten real. And everything else that you thought wasn't going to happen has happened, and this will happen. Okay, and I'm saying to you guys, it's time to get real. Okay, what are you going to be sitting there waiting to get your injection, saying still, but I didn't consent? Okay, they don't give a shit. Okay, they want the entire global population vaccinated. How much clearer can it be? Bill Gates works for them. Everyone else works underneath. They're all doing it. Okay, your government doesn't have a choice now. Okay, what do you think would happen if one of the prime ministers said no to these people? Work it out. Okay, so they're going to bring it in. No job, no jab. Okay, I'm just waiting for my phone call. It'll happen eventually, and I won't be surprised, and I won't be caught off guard, and I won't be crying. Okay, so this is the other thing. I'll just mention it right here. Personal responsibility. This is one of the calls that we're making to people out there. Okay, it's something I've put into my life from a young age. When I was younger, I used to feel sorry for myself and blame the world. Guess what? The world doesn't care. Okay, this is the reality. The world doesn't care. And this is what I teach people that I work with. The world doesn't care. It's up to us. We have to take personal responsibility for our lives. Exactly like the situation we're in today. Personal responsibility. No one else is coming to save us. I can tell you 100%, my belief is no one else is coming to save us. Now, slightly off track here, but going back to where we are. Okay, this is a trap they're setting, guys, and from there it will become mandatory. Okay, and then we've got other people going, oh, mandatory is only if you consent to it. Okay, look, you live in a lucky country. This is what I'm saying to people, where you have the right to consent and not to consent. Okay, tyrannical dictatorships don't work like that. Okay, so that's what's happening right now. Okay, so I just can't understand people, because on one hand they believe all this other stuff. They're like, oh, the tyranny, the dictatorships, it's coming, but then they go, but I don't consent. Come on now, which one do you believe? Okay, either we still live in good old Australia that we lived in 10, 15 years ago, because that's probably got to go further, or we don't. And I know we don't. Okay, as soon as I heard the word COVID, as soon as I saw the censorship coming in, okay, soon as now I'm just going to throw something out there as well. Now, I was just having a good look at this here today. So here's a news article from what's this here in Amsterdam, is it? Yeah, in Amsterdam. Yeah, okay, so here we go. Award-winning American playwright, novelist, and political commentator based in Berlin, has written this. Okay, if you enjoyed the global war on terror, you're going to love the new war on domestic terror. Okay, now this is one of the traps that I'll get into coming up. Okay, what are they going to do to trap the movements, the freedom movements? Okay, they will set up traps for the entire movements, anyone who gets big enough, anyone who's a threat. Okay, now just going back, this is your individual threats or individual traps.